Uh, my vision for the e-Agri Centre is that instead of just developing the latest mobile phone app or something like that, that we actually go back to basics as to what it is that we need to be doing to uh, deliver some solutions to the farming and the food supply chain. So basically going in with the community, actually talking to farmers, talking to plant scientists, to phenotyping sort of scientists, genetic scientists, and then saying, right, well, why are you doing things in certain ways at the present moment? What is the problem you're trying to actually cover? And then going back and saying, well, with fundamental device re-engineering, saying how do we solve those problems? So you might not end up, or hopefully will not end up, with big white boxes sat in laboratories doing detailed analysis. You might end up with a very different way of actually sensing directly in the field. Because if you sense directly in the field, or control things directly in the field, then you can have a lot more, but potentially less specific measurements, which then tell you more information about what you're wanting to see than one or two spot samples that might be taken back to a laboratory and 2 weeks later you get a result from them. The main sort of research we're doing at the present moment is, again, very much looking at the lower cost technologies. So, as I mentioned before, we partner with the agronomy groups and the livestock groups who are developing very good science in terms of trying to understand why certain features are of benefit or detriment. We then take their approaches and then re-engineer them into something very low cost. So, for example, an area we are moving quite far with is hyperspectral imaging. So this is basically a technique whereby you look at very narrow bands of light, things which go within what you would see with your eye and beyond what you'd see with your eye. I mean, your eye can see red, green and blue. So what we do is we actually look at how that all divides up and then picking out other features in that image that you wouldn't see with just your straight colour vision. And especially when you start going into the non-visual parts, the ultraviolet into the infrared. So by producing very low-cost technologies like that, and then going into the field, we can actually start picking up diseases, pathogens, viral infection. That's what we started to see. But we're not doing the fundamental viral plant science. What we're doing is delivering the engineering, which enables others to do that in a way that they haven't been able to do it in the past. So that's one area, and that's all the sort of things looking above the soil, in particular looking at crops. If you're then saying, okay, what can we do below the soil? I mean, obviously you can't see through soil. So what we're also doing is looking, again, low cost. That's the selling point here. The low cost approaches to actually picking up, say, the way that a root might be drawing on the moisture around it, or the way it interacts with the soil and the microbes in that soil, something called the rhizosphere around the root structure. By looking at, say, the electrical impedance, mapping that and actually creating three-dimensional maps of that, then we can produce a low-cost piece of hardware, I'll come back to that again, where the software is actually quite complex to actually reconstruct those images. But what we can actually get out of the field, literally for a few £100s, are units which could actually monitor, if not every plant, then certainly large proportions of, which is hopefully a game changer compared to the sort of thing which you might find at a big plant phenotyping laboratory. The mission, as I see it, basically, we act as in electronic engineering as systems integrators. So basically, putting together the smart sort of technologies, whether it's a control system for robotics or units that might be going around the field, sort of harvesting or something, whether it's actually a smart sort of sensor that might be sitting inside your mobile phone, actually picking up disease features or something like that. So we do the putting the complete unit together. What we then do is we partner with all the other enabling disciplines. So certainly within the physical sciences area, you might be talking about chemistry capabilities, process engineering, chemical engineering. You might be talking about sort of obviously the biosciences, plant sciences. So all these bits can come in and say, okay, well, that's part of the complete system. and especially when you start looking at new types of materials that you might actually use to actually sense certain features, or microfluidics that you might use to actually make a very small, lithe little version of a sensor. So that's sort of the enabling technologies, but also alongside that, it's also the partnering with the people that actually can model the effect of doing this sort of thing. So on the one hand, you might be talking, say, the business skills that can then say, okay, well, let's look at the economic impact of actually bringing in a new sort of technology. Obviously, any disruptive technology that you introduce, we are hopefully producing disruptive technologies, things that will actually make a difference. Any disruptive technology you introduce, it might create a new business for one person, but destroy somebody else's business. So looking at how you actually generate equitable cash flow from these sorts of things. Then on the other side of things, especially when you're looking at the global challenges, the sort of areas that we can assist the developing economies, the sort of smallholder farmers, how to actually bring one group out of subsistence farming or poverty. You might say do that in one area, but have implications on other people that make a living out of that, the way things are at the present moment. So it's trying to understand all those bits. So on the other hand, we partner with the groups that actually can then look at what the implications are of what we do. And then around that are all the stakeholders, all the sort of industries, all the partners that are the potential end users or suppliers into this area. So it could be the grain traders, the retail industry, farmers obviously, all the machinery providers, the dairy industry, livestock. So basically all the potential users of these sort of sensors and control technologies, partnering those guys, because if you do something at one end of the supply chain, it will have implications all the way down that supply chain and finally to the consumer and to, well, basically the retailer and the health of the consumer as well. The graduate program at Manchester in electrical engineering, we try and integrate that with sort of research we're doing in this e-Agri area. So generating self-contained small projects which actually give some focus of what an electronic engineer could do for this area. With the postgraduate opportunities, again, if you look at electronic engineers, there tends to be this idea that with the medical world, then electronic engineers look at that and say, okay, well, I can see what medical devices I can actually produce and I can see a career in that. With the agri-food area, it's not such an obvious line. So what we do, we actually have a partnership at Manchester with the other 7 research-intensive universities in the north of England. And so the other universities are coming in with very good skills in plant science, soil science, livestock. We then link in the doctoral training and the postdoctoral training alongside what we can do in engineering here with what the other groups will be doing, say, on the understanding the plant science aspects of it, or the livestock science. So we get that whole multidisciplinary, sort of environment occurring, whereby it's that sort of standard thing whereby you start asking the stupid questions, and in particular I do that very well as an engineer, asking stupid questions, and then finding out why certain things are done in certain ways by a different community, and try to understand what the common language is between that community, so actually come up with very, very different solutions, which are not just an engineering solution, but a hybrid between an engineering solution and, say, plant science or soil science or livestock science. And so it's that whole multidisciplinary thing, I think, which we really can excel on here. So what I would like to be able to show here is that electronic engineers really have a career within the agri-food area. And we've all heard about climate change and implications of that on water supply. 70% of the world's fresh water goes into agriculture. So it has a massive effect on, obviously, on food and agriculture. With the growing populations, then electronic engineers can become part of this solution in a way that maybe they haven't thought about in the past, and that's hopefully what this whole e-Agri theme will really drive home.